Did you see that article coming out from the American Heart Association? This was March 18, 2024. The headline said this: 8-hour time-restricted eating linked to a 91% higher risk of cardiovascular death. Here's what the data actually says for those people who go a little bit deeper than looking at headlines. We looked at people who ate all their food within an 8-hour window, people who ate from 8 to 10 hours, people who ate from 10 to 12 hours, people who ate from 12 to 16 hours, then you had people who got their food in over 16 hours. Basically, they just ate all day. As they're specifically talking about in this article, people who got their food within an 8-hour window. Here's some problems with that study. If you look at the actual numbers, the sample size in people who got their food in within an 8-hour window is much, much smaller. 414 people versus the 12-hour to 16-hour group had almost 12,000 people. The smaller sample size is going to lead to skewed results. People who were 8-hour window had a higher percentage of people who were African American descent. And we know that African Americans have higher incidence of heart disease than people who are of Caucasian descent. They also had a much higher amount of people who smoked and also people who had a higher BMI. Now, I'm not a huge fan of body mass index, but I don't know if these people were actually working out and were carrying around a high amount of muscle mass. So chances are it probably was linked to fat instead. Now, another problem with this study is it was a self-reported study. Most people can't remember what they had for breakfast 2 months ago, let alone over the course of a whole entire year. What's some problems with this is that, number one, guys, there's a bunch of problems with the study. Look at the actual statistics. But number one is it doesn't even make physiological sense. The reason why I say this is this: if doctors and cardiologists are saying it's all about LDL, tell me how time-restricted eating is going to increase LDL. Number two, again, this was a self-reported study, and these people didn't intermittently fast or do time-restricted eating every single day. They also had more African Americans in the 8-hour feeding window than in the 12 to 16-hour feeding window. They also had more smokers, and the people within the 8-hour window also had a higher BMI, body mass index. What's the verdict? Broken science. And a lot of people who are commenting on this probably didn't even read the study. They probably didn't even look at the actual data. And if you really have a problem with intermittently fasting, then you are just a product of broken science, and yep, you fell for it. Now, am I a huge proponent of intermittent fasting? I've done it. I've told some people to do it before, but there's nothing magical about intermittently fasting or time-restricted eating. But I will tell you this: is there a conspiracy behind it? I believe that there actually is. The reason why is if they can get you scared to death to do something as simple as time-restricted eating, then it's a lot easier to push some of the new pharmaceuticals in order to help you, quote-unquote, lose weight. After all, some of these weight loss medications are going to be a $100 billion per year cash cow by 2030. That's according to Goldman Sachs. The only thing that they need to do in order to promote these drugs is to scare you into doing things that don't make a lot of sense. By the way, I thought it was all about cholesterol. And if you want to read something interesting about atherosclerosis, go ahead and go to PubMed and type in forward head posture and atherosclerosis. Pretty interesting if you ask me. There's more than one reason for this, and I will tell you this: it's not due to intermittently fasting or time-restricted eating. They need to go scare people into doing something different. Just watch. Probably the next one will be about niacin.